In my honest opinion, and feel free to disagree with me here, I think Sky Sports F1 have absolutely nailed this year's title sequence, and it's actually better than Formula One's own version.
It's obviously stylized with a futuristic theme, but it works so well to build up this exciting narrative which then throws you into cinematic on-track action at the most iconic locations on the calendar. Now this was a big collaborative project with Sky Creative, director Chris Wilcock from Bigfoot Creative, and the visuals crafted by independent creative studio Coffee and TV, who we're focusing on today. And with them we're speaking with Johnny Grew, who led the CG for the project, who in this video is going to walk us through how the title sequence was created.
So to begin with, we fleshed out some rough cameras. It was decided that we were going to have this slow build and then go into a fast-paced car section. So choreographing some of those just general cuts with like a corner here, it'd be nice if there was an overtake at this point. Every shot was based around a real corner, just to build up a story really across the board. F1 gave us the car for the 2022 season as per what they had demonstrated with their mock-up on the grid with the drivers walking around it months before. It was very loose at that stage because we knew that the new regulations were open to interpretation. So we had that as our stock base model, and we had to create different liveries for all the teams, but it was decided that we would just go with the stock model. There's no point in second guessing where a team might possibly go. And obviously you look at AlphaTauri with its very square air intakes on the sides, and then you've also got Mercedes without any side pods at all. So we had to just make a call on that. So from receiving the model, we then needed to clean up the model. A lot of the time when you get CAD from car manufacturers, you will find that it's very dense topology wise. So that's the number of polygons that make up that model. They often need rebuilding to make them look pretty. So we go through a process of cleaning up the topology, making the car look nice in a grayscale form, and then look at the liveries afterwards.
Now, as this project began before any real world testing happened, it meant they didn't actually have any liveries to work with, and actually didn't get any final liveries till quite late on. So they took inspiration of mocking up previous year liveries but onto the new 2022 cars, which meant that the team could carry on with the animations and the final looks, so when the new liveries had been released, it could be replaced somewhat easily. But like I mentioned, the next process was actually animating the car, and once the 3D model had actually been finalized, it was then time for rigging.
This is being able to puppeteer the car. So people often think about rigging in character animation, but actually there's a rig involved in the car so that we can move the suspension, we can add some body roll, we can open the DRS, we can have the steering wheel mirror what the wheels are doing at the front end. So that process is lots of constraints and expressions to drive different bits of the car to make sure that when you move one control, the other controls compensate to keep all four wheels on the ground, for example, or so that you can independently move a wheel if it was riding a curve heavily.
The next phase was to actually create the tracks themselves, and in the 14 seconds we see on-track action, we actually go to 13 different locations. But of course we're not needing to showcase the full circuit, but just a section of where the action takes place. If we take Monaco as the example, the team were doing a rear shot of the car tracking it forward down the start-finish line. Here they used reference photos from either Google Street View, video footage, or even a camera mode in the Formula 1 game to try and replicate the Principality as realistic as possible. The animation was done using a program called Maya, and here once they had all the 3D buildings, trees, fencing and crowd completed, they really wanted to make sure that with that shot you could clearly understand the location with a quick glance.
The original brief, we weren't going to be doing a different track. We weren't going to be necessarily highlighting particular corners, but the love and passion for F1 within the team meant that we wanted to really celebrate all the different tracks. People know the Sakir Tower, and that's an iconic bit for Bahrain. So making sure that we could pepper all of the tracks with something that would stand out as being very obviously we're in Bahrain now, or we're in Britain in the case of the tongue-in-cheek rainy scene as well. Our aim was really to get as close to reality as we could within the time frame, but we were comfortable with kind of leaning a little bit on the hyperreal. Obviously we have our model, we've got our textures, we have our lighting in place. Then we render out to feed images into comp. So we have an option to spit out lots of different passes. It's not just one pass, this is a render, and then it goes off to comp for some atmosphere and some bloom and lens flares and so on. We can separate out the specular, the gloss, the reflection within a shot. Then in compositing, you can choose just how reflective something is. So there was a beauty, there was shadow passes, there were reflections, there were some additional kind of ID passes that meant you could isolate the wheels and make them a little bit darker. And at that point in compositing, when you've got the control to be able to adjust adjust all these elements, it means that you can bring up a still alongside what we're comping that is a similar scenario in reality, and you can kind of balance things out to make sure that it feels real and as close to reality certainly as possible.
Now, coming up soon, I've got a very exciting trip to Milan, and I can't quite explain just yet what the trip is about. However, I do need to book my flights and hotel for it, and today's sponsor Pouch is going to help me out with that. Pouch is a free desktop browser extension that automatically finds and applies the best discount codes for when you're shopping online. So here I am looking at lastminute.com for flights and hotels to Milan, and when I go to checkout, Pouch automatically pops up, finding me 5 discount codes, and when I apply it, it saves me over 26 quid. Pouch works on over 3,000 sites like Amazon, eBay, and my favourite, Domino's. And if there are no live codes available at the time that you're shopping online, you can still earn points from participating retailers, which can be redeemed for gift cards. And so that happened to me recently. I claimed enough points from just doing my everyday shopping, and I was able to get a free Amazon gift card just from doing my normal everyday shopping. It only takes a couple of clicks to install, and make sure to pin it to your browser. So to get Pouch for free, make sure to click the top link in the description.
We had an initial kind of recce and shoot where we had a stand-in and we blocked out the shots with somebody who was kind of raising his head to mimic what happens in Lewis's shot, or opening his eye as Norris does. I think they filmed over 2 days for that, and that was at testing in Barcelona. There's very little time in all of these situations where a driver will be on set and they have to do all of the kind of cheesy fold the arms, look to camera and various other press things, and you've got 10 minutes to get Ricardo on a turntable and tell him to power down or whatever, kind of give him an idea about what he needs to do. They were all locked off cameras, so we didn't have to worry about camera tracking, but we had some proxy geometry, just a rough driver mesh that was used for all drivers, which we could then match the animation to what had been shot. And then this allowed us to either go wireframe with it or run pulses of light down it and play back with shaders. And then there were other things that were a little bit more involved. So that was having, as well as the outer skin and the overalls, we had veins, we had circulatory system, we had the central nervous system and skeleton. Internal organs we decided to drop because then it started to get a little bit too doctory, bearing in mind that we started in February when they're doing their testing in Barcelona, and then it's early March when we actually start on the season. So all in all, you're talking 3 or 4 months. Generally, it's been so well received. Comments like, it looks like it's been made by fans. It made my heart kind of leap with joy because I love Formula One. There's so many other people on the team that love Formula One. We crafted this for other people that love Formula One.
But what is your favourite Formula One title sequence of all time? There are so many different varieties out there, so I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let me know it in the comments down below. And my thanks to Coffee and TV for giving such great insight into how they made this title sequence.
If you want to see the full version of that, it is linked down below. And remember to download Pouch for free with the top link in the description.